أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Respected organizers, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today I will be speaking with you about the intimate relationship between the Holy Quran and the human brain, focusing on the visual system as a case study. In thinking about Quran and science, the Prophet ﷺ has taught us a profound truth that opens up our understanding of the physical world, the spiritual world, and the connection between them. He states that the physical and spiritual systems of man are governed by the same laws of nature. This means that there is perfect and beautiful unity in the laws of Almighty Allah, such that the same laws of nature that apply to the spiritual world also apply to the physical world. This connection becomes even more intimate when we consider that our interaction with Almighty Allah, our spiritual experiences, and our spiritual development occurs through a physical structure, the human brain. And hence, the physical and spiritual development of our brain must occur by the same laws. Insights into spiritual development can therefore shed light on laws that govern the physical development of the brain. Similarly, studying neuroscience and understanding physical properties of the brain can shed light on how Quranic teachings interface with our brains to facilitate spiritual development. Today, I would like to illustrate this connection by discussing the visual system and exploring the idea that physical and spiritual vision are governed by the same laws of nature. Almighty Allah states in the Holy Quran that He has created us with eyes, ears, and hearts that we might be grateful. Therefore, Allah is telling us that vision, like other senses, comes from Almighty Allah, and that mankind is created with the capacity for spiritual vision. Though we are born with this capacity, not everyone uses it or maintains this capacity. Allah says that proofs have indeed come to you from your Lord. So whoever sees, it is for his own good, and whoever becomes blind, it is to his own harm. So here Allah is telling us that He not only creates us with the capacity for spiritual vision, He also provides spiritual proofs to further develop our spiritual vision. And if we see and recognize these proofs, then we can develop our vision in this way. If, on the other hand, we ignore these proofs, we will become spiritually blind. In other words, if we don't use our spiritual vision, we will lose it. And once we lose it, this can become a permanent condition. Allah says, those who have disbelieved, it being equal to them, whether thou warn them or warn them not, they will not believe. Allah has set a seal on their hearts and their ears, and over their eyes is a covering, and for them is a great punishment. Here Allah is telling us that disbelievers who have stopped using their spiritual vision not only become blind, but permanently blind. Allah says that their hearts are sealed and over their eyes is a covering. So what has Allah taught us about spiritual vision? He's taught us that He has created mankind with the capacity for vision. But if we don't use it, we will lose it. And once we lose it, we can become permanently blind. These principles about spiritual vision were described by Almighty Allah 1400 years ago. And a mere 40 years ago, the Nobel Prize was given to David Hubel and Torsten Wiesel for their discoveries that these principles govern the development of physical vision. The Nobel Prize website summarizes that they were able to show that a prerequisite for visual development to take place is that the eye be exposed to visual stimuli. If one eye is closed for only a few days during this critical period, permanent functional changes will take place in the visual cortex. They demonstrated this with an ingenious experiment. Here I'm showing you a cartoon of the brain, and you can see that the eyes on the top of the image connect to the visual cortex at the bottom of the image. What they did was to take kittens and suture one eye shut shortly after the kittens were born. And what they found was that the part of the brain that receives input from that eye subsequently lost responsiveness to vision, and the animals became blind in that particular eye. This was a groundbreaking experiment because it demonstrated the critical role of experience in the development of the brain. While the initial development of the brain is governed by an intrinsic genetic program, the full development of the brain requires experience to further refine neural circuits. Put another way, the brain physically develops initially through nature and subsequently through nurture or experiences. Just as Allah has described our spiritual development, which develops initially as a blessing from Almighty Allah and subsequently from mankind's recognition of spiritual proofs provided by Almighty Allah and through man's effort. Nearly all of the teachings of the Holy Quran are aimed at refining our brain's spiritual circuitry through spiritual experiences, including constant zikr ilahi, reading the Holy Quran, 5 daily prayers, weekly Jummah, annual fasting, and financial sacrifice, and Hajj. Some of the research that I've been able to do has demonstrated that experiences, including spiritual experiences like these, can physically change the structure of the brain and the function of the brain. And it is these changes that enable us to develop spiritually. May Allah enable Ahmadiyya Muslim scientists to discover additional principles that underlie the physical and spiritual development of the brain. Ameen wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.